Hey everyone, this is James from TDB bringing you another Inbetweenisode. Today I am going to be drinking a couple different teas, doing a blind comparison here. The one of the teas is the 2005 Chenyuan Hao Shanzhong Chuanqi, and the second is the 2006 Yangqing Hao Qixiang. So why these two teas? Well, they are both part of a trend in the mid-2000s of 6 famous tea mountain cakes being blended together, and who knows how much of each mountain is in each. I kind of think of these together as sort of like an Yiwu-ish blend, because what you're looking at are the 6 famous tea mountains. So, of course, you have Yiwu, Manzuan, you have Yibang, Gedang, Mengzhi, and Yola over on the far west. And so it's a mix. You have Yiwu and Manzuan, which have the large leaf varietal. You have Yibang, which is generally associated with the smaller leaf varietal. Gedang, I believe, has some of that as well as Mengzhi. And then Yola over on the west is a little bit of a different character. It's the large leaf varietal again, but it's a little bigger in flavor and body, and maybe not quite the same aftertaste. So who knows how much of each of these mountains was blended into each of these teas, but they're all kind of known as sort of these historical tea growing areas. They were active during kind of the Haoji period. Yibang, Mansang in particular, has kind of like a lot of historical context, as well as just Yiwu in general from some of those old brands. Not to say that these are necessarily recreations of those, but they are kind of fun in that sense. And it makes sense to blend these together as a whole too, because they are part of kind of the greater area. If we think about Menghai County over to the west, an operation like Dai is probably constantly blending from all the different mountains over there, like Nanno, Bulong, Mongsang, Bada. So all of those different places. We are going to get into this. I don't really know what kicked off this trend. It seems like a very boutique-driven trend. The first one I have heard of is the Chenyuan Hao one. I don't know if that was actually the first or the one that popularized it, but it seemed like after that, a lot of these different operations were starting to crank out these different teas. I know 2005 autumn, Yangqing Hao released the Kanglu, which is not a personal favorite of mine. And 2006 they did the Qixiang, which is the spring blend that Yangqing Hao did. And Chenyuan Hao, as far as I know, has only really done the 2005 one. Another operation that's done some is Xiangming Tea Factory, which you can find over at Teas You Like, as well as Listening to Leaves. They have some interesting kind of mountain blends too. My opinion of these is a little bit mixed, to be honest, because these are boutique operations, so they're not like kind of grinding and blending the leaves heavily like Menghai Tea Factory. In fact, a lot of these are whole leaf blends. And when we have these sort of small tea sessions here, I'm not sure that the tea always performs very consistently. So there's a lot of consistency issues that I've had with a couple of these different teas. So none of them are necessarily my kind of like main daily drinks that I drink all the time. But I have had some very, very nice sessions with them. They're just very variable. So let's get into the teas. All right, so let's get into the tea. I have given both of these a double rinse. Just want to get into these pretty quickly. My experience with both of these is that the Chenyuan Hao in particular can be a little inconsistent, but I've had some very good sessions with that. The Qixiang, on the other hand, maybe the blending is a little more even, but I also found that it's consistently kind of just a little bit above average, not necessarily great. So the top side of the Shanzhong has been better. But one thing I don't like about the consistency is, like, some people will talk about how it's fun, you don't know exactly what to expect. I guess I sort of get that, but when I'm choosing a tea to drink, I generally prefer that it represent at least a relatively consistent experience. Let's take a smell of these leaves too, before we get too far along. Fruity, woody, pretty standard pu'er notes there. Almost want to say the same. This has a little bit of an apple note to it going on. Interestingly, maybe it's because I didn't smell the rinses, but not getting a huge YQH stench, although maybe a little bit from this tea from the right. It has such a notable storage note to it. Chenyuan Hao as well. Chenyuan Hao, a little bit less so, and I think that's partly because it comes from a couple different places when we are talking about Chenyuan Hao. Cheers. Juicy, overripe fruits. Doesn't taste very, it's very upfront. A little bit of sugar. It has some nice throat feel to it. I'd say it feels a little bit more upfront and bigger in the mouth than perhaps standard Iwu. Trying to think of the 2006 YQH productions. The one that comes to mind is the Chuanqi, which has a lot at this point of that menthol camphor. Not getting a whole lot here. I would guess this is probably the Chenyuan, the Yangqing Hao rather. All right, let's move on to this. Darker, more resinous wood. Yeah, this tastes Chenyuan Hao-ish to me. Apple. The body is denser, but it's not as big as the tea on the right. But a lot more active in the mouth. I'd say round one probably goes to this tea on the left. Yeah, it has some nice mouth coating activity as well. Little challenging. This is a comparison that maybe would have been better to do one and then the next one, just to get a feel for the teas. You know what? Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll stick with this guy and do brew number 2 and brew number 3, and then we'll go over and do the same for the tea on the right. Just because the aftertaste and whatnot sometimes can get a little bit muddled. So I'm just gonna go ahead and make brew number 2 here, and brew number 3 we'll push it not too long. I'm not quite Denny level as far as pushing, but we'll go for 10 seconds or so. Color-wise, pretty similar. These are both Tainan-based boutiques. Not sure exactly. My cake of Shanzhong, I did get it relatively recently. I got it from Li Hui, who is a source of quite a bit of boutique Chenyuan Hao, especially over in Taiwan. Yeah, the Qixiang, I think, was a toss-in from Yang on some big order years ago at this point. Yeah, not really either tea's passing the speed test super quickly, but I don't mind either tea either. Yeah, I'd say right now I have a higher opinion of the Chenyuan Hao, so we'll see if that lasts or not. Cheers. Yeah, it has this like apple crispness to it. Nice texture. If this is the Chenyuan Hao, it's different from the last time I had it, where it had a lot more of this kind of like rich sugarcane. Maybe that was something like the Ebong or something like that, like rock sugar almost in it. Not getting a whole lot of that here. It a bit more in those grounded, resinous. I could definitely see some Yola. Yeah, I do like this. It does represent a nicely textured taste to it. Pretty variable. Okay, and here is brew number 3, and we're gonna heat up this water and get going on this tea on the right too. Still gonna stick with my original guess that that's the Shanzhong. Still a little hot. Pretty sweaty smell to that. A little simpler, I'd say, than the tea on the left. Push, this is even nicer. Really doesn't bite back all that much, so that could be mean that it's at a good point to get drank, or maybe a little bit concerning if you are wanting this to age a lot longer. Very smooth, definitely very drinkable, lots of sweetness. Nice. I do like this. Yeah. I would say it's not top tier tea, but it is pretty solid. Whatever, we will reheat too. Why not? Just to be totally sure on the water temperature that we are dealing with. And that aftertaste is real nice, just coming off of the tea on the left. It is doing a lot in the throat, some salivation effect as well. It's just good. Yeah, I'm glad I did it this way because I think it would have been a lot harder. It could have been some misattribution as far as aftertaste and whatnot. It's one thing when you're comparing jiaji tools. It's another thing when you are having teas with somewhat complex aftertastes side by side. And let's put yeah, I would say I'm somewhat confident in my guesses right now. Cheers. Yeah, it's not nearly as densely packed as the tiandele. A lot less texture. It doesn't have bad body though. And I would say it's much simpler. So yeah, that's the interesting about the Shanzhong is you can really taste the blending for better or worse. In some ways, it creates a really interesting dynamic tea. In other ways, it creates a very variable experience. For whatever reason, the Qixiang is consistent, but it's just kind of consistently okay. Maybe it was better on this push steep. I did like the push steep of the tea on the left more. Let's do the real right now. And yeah, I am correct. A, Shanzhong, and B is the Yangqing Hao. I don't know if I've had either tea in the last half a year or so, but I have had both of these teas probably at least 10 times throughout my life. And so far, I would say it's kind of confirming what I thought. The Chenyuan Hao just has a fair bit better material. The processing of it might be a little more, little better as well. This Qixiang, I just don't know. It's one of those teas where I don't mind drinking it, but I don't totally know how I feel about it as a tea. Yeah, it's sweet. It's kind of got those overripe fruit notes going on. And it's just always kind of a little bit like that. It kind of has a little bit of that YQH taste. For me, at least, it's not the top tier YQH, and it's also not a top tier speed test YQH. Even though it is fine, it's a fine tea. Yeah, I mean, it's nice, it's sweet, it goes down easy. It does have some nice attributes to it, but I do think it's just not nearly as interesting as the Shanzhong. Yeah, it's just very soft on its approach and smooth at this point. Okay, so that wraps up this Inbetweenisode. Let me know how you liked it. And let me know what you think of both of these teas. I do think these are both that have circulated in the Western circles quite some time, so I think people will have opinions on these, so I'm very curious to hear. Let me know if you've done this comparison. Let me know if you have compared these with the Xiangming Tea Factory teas, which I think, in my opinion, are probably a little bit closer or perhaps even better than the Chenyuan Hao in quality. So thank you all for tuning in. I will see you all next time. Cheers.